Well, hello, it's been quite a journey, hasn't it? Welcome to lesson number 6 in your life as God. Nice to have you back with us again. We've done a lot of work here in this course now. We've taken you through several steps, and you've been really good about moving through those steps with us. I hope you've gotten a lot out of it. We've gone through the steps of recognition, which is a very important beginning step, recognizing where you are right now in your life and what, if anything, is missing. We've gone through exploration, exploring what it would be like to have whatever might be missing manifest in your life and how it would feel to step into that. We've gone through comprehension, because you can't step into what's missing or what you'd like to have manifest more of in your life unless you really understand deeply how life works. So the step of comprehension, the mechanics of the mind, the system of the soul, very important stuff. Then we went through completion, because even if you understand how life works, even if you have the mechanics down, unless you're complete with and very clear about what you need to get complete on, you're going to find those blockages in your way. I hear that a lot from people who say, you know, I really understand all this metaphysical stuff. I really get it. I still don't seem to be able to get across that bridge. And usually what stops you is the things about which you are not complete. So we went through that step of completion and hope that worked really well for you. And then we went through, finally, reconciliation in our last lesson, where we worked real hard to finish our unfinished business. Again, just a really important step. I worked once with a wonderful lady named Dr. Elizabeth Kubler-Ross, and I asked her how she was able to do what she did, working every day with people who were near death and ready to make their transition. And Elizabeth said to me, it's not difficult to do this work when you have finished your unfinished business. And I know that that's a very, very important part of the whole process of what we would loosely call transformation. That is, transforming ourselves from merely a human being to a human being who understands that they are in fact living their life as God. And so that process of reconciliation, very important. I hope you really moved deeply into that last week. Today, we move into step 6, where we'll offer a lesson on affirmation, embracing what's true. At this point, we move toward a time of affirming, declaring, embracing, and expressing what is really true about oneself, about all others, about life, and about God. Because if we don't know what's true, we can't really step into the full experience of that. It's the natural outcome of the reconciliation of the mind and soul, and of the individual with all those who have touched their life in any way that was previously held as negative. You know, when we are finished with this lesson, I hope that you will, among other things, be open to the cosmology of all of life and how life works when it is experienced through that cosmological awareness that we've been talking about. I also hope you'll be able to identify and express through you the truth of life's ultimate and everlasting sufficiency. I also hope that you'll come to know experientially that what you do in life does not determine and bears scant relationship to who you are, and that you'll learn how to differentiate between what you are doing and what you are being as a means and as a measure by which you create the expression of self in the day-to-day world. I want you as well to learn the secrets of creating inner peace and outer tranquility in the moment-to-moment of your experience through the deep exploration and practical application of the profound truths in the triad process. Students who've been exposed to the experience of affirmation have found themselves connecting with other people and with every other aspect of physical life, as a matter of fact, in a more unified way than ever before, dropping their sense of separation completely and most particularly abandoning all previous notions that somehow it's possible for them to lack anything they truly need to be happy. The huge breakthrough for most people embracing the information in this class is the deep peace that comes from knowing that they are off the hook for having to do certain results, produce certain results in their life. They're off the hook for having to find a way to create enough in their life. And they're finally off the hook for having to continue living a life of deep separation and isolation, but can at last experience the unity of all of life, both as an internal reality as well as a simple mental concept. There are 7 empowering declarations that I'm going to share with you today, any one of which could change your life. So let's go to those 7 declarations right now. Affirmation is an extraordinarily important part, an incredible aspect of the life that we choose to live as God, because affirmation does exactly that. It affirms for us, in us, what's true about us and what's true about all of life. So these 7 affirmations that I'm going to share with you today, I would like you to really internalize. I'd like you to maybe write them down. I'd like you to allow yourself to repeat these affirmations every day until you really have, how would I say, integrated them into your way of being, yes? The most important affirmation of all is the first lesson, the first message that I got in my conversations with God. And that affirmation was a 4-word affirmation. Somehow or another, we have allowed ourselves in life to get very complicated with things. You know, we get into, I do it a lot, you know, right here on this, on these programs I do it, you know, just going on and on and on, explaining things, you know, with lots of words and try to give you illustrations. And the truth is that the foundational reality can be expressed and explained in very few words. And in fact, I think in the first 10 minutes of the conversation with God experience, an experience that extended over an entire year, an experience that it took me hundreds of pages to document, in the first 10 minutes, and what turned out to be the first 4 or 5 pages of over 3,000 pages of dialogue, I received all I needed to know. It's kind of like that guy. Who's that guy who wrote that thing, Everything I Needed to Know I Learned in Kindergarten? It's kind of like that. Everything I needed to know I learned in the first 10 minutes of my conversations with God. And so this is affirmation number 1, and in many ways the only one you would ever really need. After that, everything is kind of an add-on, kind of a supplementary piece of information. So here it comes in 4 words. Affirmation number 1 in today's lesson. We are all one. And that's all you need to know. If you truly were to embrace we are all one as not just a thought, not just a concept, but a truly empowering declaration, you would find that your life would shift and change very quickly and in a very large way. Now, the living of we are all one, as opposed to the simple saying of it, is, I'm going to admit, not as easy as it is to say. That is, it's easier said than done, as my father used to say. And yet, it's not as difficult to step into it either as some would have us believe. So it's somewhere right in the middle there, and if we make a real effort, we start noticing that we're taking steps, little small baby steps, toward the ultimate experience of our oneness with everything. So for me, the first step was with my affectionate other, with my relationship, in that relationship experience. It was with my significant other that I knew that I had the opportunity to experience, to experiment with, to move into the expression of oneness easily, because we spend much of our time together, as most of us do, with our significant others. More time with that single person than probably anybody else in your life. So here's a chance, here's a place to start, here's a baby step. Now you might think, well, I already have an experience of oneness with my spouse, with my partner, with my live-in mate, but I'm not so sure that's true. We might have the experience of closeness, we might have an experience of intimacy, but do we really have an experience of oneness? What is the difference between intimacy and oneness? Wow, what an interesting question. The difference between intimacy and oneness is that intimacy means that we are vulnerable and open with each other, and that there are no barriers, that all the barriers have dropped, and we are truly intimate. You know, intimacy is an interesting word. My friend James Twyman likes to twist the word around and say, into me see, into me see. A clever way to use those sounds. He takes the sounds of that word and creates new meaning. And intimacy is wonderful, but intimacy, into me see, is not the same as oneness. Oneness is not only when I allow someone to see into me and they allow me to see into them where all the barriers are dropped. But oneness is what is produced after we see into another. That what we see there is, oh, they're just the same as I am. I mean, they're really, at its basis, is no difference. They're having the same experience. I'll be doggone. They're having the same experience of life that I am. They're experiencing hurt, and sadness, and disappointment, joy and happiness and gladness. They're experiencing excitement and disappointment. Wow, they're having the same experience that I am. It's just that different things might be causing those experiences, and they may use different words to express those experiences, but the deeply held, the deep down emotional experience is the same. And so oneness for me is when I can relate at a single level with the emotional experience of my significant other. That is, let me give you an example now, because this is a good one. If my sweetie pie is not having a good morning, and she's kind of moving around the kitchen, you know, maybe got up on the wrong side of the bed. We all have those days. God knows I have them. But let's just pretend that she's having one of those days. And so the kettles are clanking with a little bit more noise. The faucet is being turned on with a little bit more energy, you know, and you can kind of feel in the air, oh, not the best morning. Now, normally I would have, in the old days, I would get kind of stiffen up and kind of like brace myself and get ready and even be in some mild way on the defensive, getting ready to see, and sure enough, she would say something like, well, is that what you're going to really wear today? Are you actually going to go out with that? Or whatever she might say. Because it's just about her mood, and I'll go, well, this shirt isn't that bad. I kind of like this shirt. What's the problem with, and all of a sudden we're into it. I mean, we're into it. This is normal stuff. I know you have never had these kinds of experiences, but I'm just telling you how it is in regular life. So now, when I can really be one with that person, I not only recognize the mood they're in, the energy in the space, the emotion that's present. I not only recognize it, but rather than become wary, rather than get on the defensive, rather than get into, oh boy, things are not so good, okay. Rather than go there, I go, in other words, rather than pull out, rather than pull back, it's about stepping in. And so oneness is about stepping fully into the experience of another such that it becomes your experience. Whoa. Stepping into the experience of another such that it becomes your experience. So it's no longer me against them, us against them. It's suddenly us. There is no them. It's just us and us, if you will. And so what I've trained myself to do or to try to do in moments like that with everyone, not just my significant other, is to first identify what's going on as best as I can, and then give myself permission to step into it fully and to feel into that and to allow myself to grab onto that energy and even share it. So I want to say that oneness is the experience of shared energy. And sharing the energy doesn't mean duplicating it. Okay? Doesn't mean duplicating it. Doesn't mean, okay, that person's in a bad mood. I guess I'll act like I'm in a bad mood too. We can, we two can play the same game. That's not it. Sharing the energy is sharing the burden if it's negative energy, and sharing the joy if it's positive energy. But it's not duplicating it. So it means a mutual holding of it. Now what I experience when I'm sharing the energy, if the energy of my beloved other is a bit negative this morning, what I notice that when I share the energy, that is, I don't criticize it, I don't defend against it, I don't stand away from it, but I step into it and just kind of realize, oh yeah, I've been there, I know what this is. This feels like, oh, this isn't the brightest energy that humans can experience. I'm going to just share this. And I don't say anything, by the way. It isn't about, I'm sharing your energy now. Boy, I'm really cool here. See, that's not it. It's just about, and how it demonstrates itself in real life, because, what is it? If that's not it, then what is it? How it demonstrates itself in real life is just a gentle, calm, sweet acceptance.